If you're currently renting and thinking about buying a home, stick around. We're going to be going over my pros and cons, top 5 pros and cons between renting and buying a house. First of all, commitment. This goes beyond just signing a 1-year lease. It's obvious that owning a home is a much longer-term commitment. However, committing to being a homeowner is more than just the length of stay. It also means, are you going to mow the lawn? Are you going to be a good neighbor? Are you going to keep your exterior space cleaned up and organized so that you don't have complaints from the city? Are you going to maintain the home and keep your asset in good working order for the length of ownership? Barriers to enter. Clearly, as a tenant, you're going to be required to put forth some sort of a damage deposit. It is usually about 1 month's rent, possibly a little more. If you're going to be buying a house, you will be required to put down a down payment, and it is significantly more than you would if you were renting a house or an apartment. Now, right now, if you can qualify for a conventional loan, you can get as low as a 3% down payment. That's incredible. If you qualify for a first-time homebuyer's loan, that is still really low at 3.5% down. These are minimum down payment requirements. You can always put down more in your down payment, but as a minimum, you're going to need to put down these amounts. Let's think about this. So if you are interested in buying a $250,000 starter home, now in the Twin Cities, you can find homes as a starter home, typically between $200,000 and $300,000. So if I just pick smack dab in the middle at $250,000, calculate a down payment of 3%, you're gonna look at approximately $7,500 down for a down payment. Now this is by itself. You also need to include closing costs. Closing costs will vary depending on your lender, the taxes, the insurance. There's a lot of things that get included in closing costs. But right now, you can include them also in your purchase agreement and try to ask the seller to help pay for some of those. In a buyer's market, this works much better than in a seller's market. Right now, as I record in the Twin Cities, we are in a seller's market. There's very low inventory and a lot of buyers. So you want to write the cleanest, most accurate offer possible when in a multiple offer situation. And sometimes that really doesn't help to have those closing costs covered by the seller. So if you can, try really hard to save up for your closing costs just in case you need to pay for all of them on your own. The next big pro and con, pro for renting, con for owning, is a variable cost. So as a tenant, you can pretty much predict your payment every single month is going to be your lease. You don't have to worry if the toilet leaks. You don't have to worry about the AC breaking. You don't have to worry about the windows or the roof or the siding. You just have to make your lease payment. Now, as a homeowner, you're gonna have to consider all of the different maintenance items that you will have to pay for as an owner. This could be, like I said, roof, if you have mechanicals fail, refrigerators, dishwashers, you name it, they probably will break at some point. Not to be pessimistic, but it is really good to budget for this ahead. A good general rule of thumb is 1% of the purchase price should be set aside annually for home repairs. Now, again, if I use the example of a $250,000 house, just set aside $2,500 a year. If you don't use it that year, roll it into the next year, just in case for those big ticket items. When they come, you have a big store of cash set aside, ready to pay for those big expensive items. One thing to think about though, as a homeowner, and if you want to try to mitigate some of those variable costs of breaking items, you can look into some of the home repair service plans. I know Excel Energy has one, CenterPoint Energy has one. There are great options in the Twin Cities for companies They can cost as little as 20 bucks a month, and then they will help reduce the costs of appliances or mechanicals when they break. So again, the next big difference, pro for a renter, but con for a homeowner, is the variable cost that you need to budget for. Financial impact. Let's compare renting versus buying and the financial impact itself. So when you're looking at your lease payment, say you're looking at a $1,500 lease payment and a $1,500 mortgage payment. Those are not comparable. Even though it appears that you're break even, you need to consider real estate taxes, insurance, and the cost of maintaining your house. So there are some hidden costs when owning a home. Also, please consider the interest deduction on your tax return. Some people think this is a great benefit. I, on the other hand, believe that the standard deduction often is more beneficial than the interest from your mortgage. So don't buy your house thinking it is just a tax write-off. That's not true. Now, to help you further compare renting versus buying, we're gonna do a very simple example of what the monthly costs of home ownership might be. So we're gonna revert back to that $250,000 single family home with no association fees. So starting out with that, we're also gonna use a couple estimates. If you have a specific home in mind, please update your numbers accordingly. But for this particular example, we're using nice estimates with conservative numbers. So again, we're using a 3% interest rate because that is about where we're at right now at the time of this recording. I have some clients qualifying for below that on a 30-year, and I have some clients qualifying for above that on a 30-year. So we're gonna use 3%, and we're gonna use 1% for real estate taxes, 1% for repairs. We're gonna use $100 a month for PMI and $100 a month for homeowners insurance. So let's break this down. No association fees on this single family home. We're gonna use that 30-year mortgage and 3% down payment on that conventional. So we're gonna have a $1,022 mortgage payment, $208 in real estate taxes, $100 in insurance, $100 in PMI, for a total cash payment monthly of $1,430, so $1,430 a month. Now, don't forget, we wanna make sure we remember that repairs hold back. So that we're gonna take some money aside every month and be good at budgeting so we have side money available for those big repairs when they break. We don't want any surprises, so we're gonna go ahead and use 1% on that repairs. So 1% of the $250, again, is $208 per month. So our total payment in our mind will be $1,638. So we're gonna be comparing a $1,638 to whatever your monthly lease is. So in the Twin Cities, I work very frequently in the South Metro area. It's very common to rent a single family home anywhere between $1,400 and $1,900. So if you are in that renting ballpark above $1,650, you really should consider home ownership. If you're renting for less than $1,650, you may just want to continue renting. Don't forget to consider the fact that when you rent a home, you may have additional amenities that you may not be able to enjoy as a single family home. You may have access to a pool or golf course or a gym. So those things you might have as a tenant that you may not have as a homeowner, unless you pick an association that also has those amenities. And finally, in the financial comparison between renting and owning, don't forget about the debt paydown on your mortgage. Now, in the first few years, it's not going to be very impactful. You're going to be paying significant interest, but if you're going to be living in these houses for 5, 10, 15 or more years, you're going to see a benefit in the long run through that monthly payment. Now, if you follow those financial gurus out there, they are suggesting looking at a 15-year mortgage. I also believe this is a great idea. You will pay for less interest in the long run for your home, and thus making it a better investment. However, you want to make sure you're very comfortable with the 15-year versus the 30-year mortgage payments. All right, let's move on to our final topic. My last comparable between renting and owning has to do with lifestyle. As a tenant, you have very little control over the house that you live in. But as a homeowner, you can have the tiger stripe carpet if you want it. You can have the purple walls or the gray and white theme. You can do anything you want because you own that house. And that's a real benefit that you can't place a monetary aspect to. So in summary, looking at the pros and cons that we just heard, if you plan on staying in a location for 3+ years, you've done your research, you have a great credit score, and your budget and time can maintain a property, I highly suggest you looking into purchasing your first home. It's a great long-term financial investment if you've done your homework. If you have any questions, reach out. I'm a Twin Cities realtor. I love to help my clients make smart decisions. Take care, don't forget to subscribe and look for other videos in the future.